Welcome to the Craze in 10 or less. This is the show where I give it to you in 10 minutes or under. And if I don't, then I did not. But I will, because I could. I'm a man of my word, and I should. Anyway, how important is branding to you and your business? This is the Craze in 10 or less. I'm Sam the Crazy Man Vera. Stop acting up. Let's get it. So, branding. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to talk from personal experience as well as give you some, there's 6 keys to successful branding that's on a website called medium.com. And I will also give you 9 crucial branding mistakes from outbrain.com. But before I do that, let's segue into why I'm bringing this up. So currently, Craze is going through an entire rebranding phase. And the purpose of that is to really connect my mission statement with the branding, right? And so that it's concise and cohesive. Give you a perfect example. Crazy Comics. When I created Crazy Comics, the logo was pretty simple. It was 2 half moons. It was 2 C's shaped as half moons overlapping each other, one silver, one red, with the words Crazy Comics below it. It was easy to identify. It was great. It worked with branding on everything. The logo was recognizable to all of the people who knew or heard of us. It went on shirts, it went on bags, it went on comic books, it went on everything. And it was specifically geared towards comics. Now, when I launched Cast the Craze podcast back in 2005, the reason, and I was a comic book publisher creating Cast the Craze, the reason it wasn't called Cast the Craze Comic Podcast, it had nothing, there was no, the word comic was not in it. It's because the craze, for me, was about a movement. It was about a culture. It was about recognizing the new thing, whether it would in entertainment and art, whether it was comics, whether it was movies, was music, whatever it was about the next craze. So I wanted the logo, the theme song, and our message to be linked so that it was easy to identify and recognize. And you understood when you heard Cast the Craze, oh, those guys that promote indie creators across the gambit. We just happen to have a majority of our guests be comic book creators because that's where our initial heart comes from. We're comic creators ourselves. Pitfall. Right? So I felt looking, back on everything, we nailed it for those 2 things. Fast forward. The relaunch of Cast the Craze. And Sam the Crazy Man Vera. Right? And you got me and the logo. Boom. Everybody knows who Sam the Crazy Man Vera is by now. And the logo's there. But that's all getting reshaped. The mistake was not there. The mistake was in I Create Stories. I didn't spend enough time coming up with a look for the logo for I Create Stories, and the message was not clear, right? And it was really about promoting me as a content creator. And so all that's under review by me to really go back because I feel like I failed at that, delivering that message. It wasn't cohesive, it wasn't linked, and it's hard to capitalize on it. So that's being reshaped. Now, why is it so important? Let's talk about the keys to successful branding. The 6 keys, and that's on medium.com. First is identify your audience and their emotions, right? So who is your audience? Why is that important? Because it's critical that they understand your intention. And you understand what they want from you, right? So you think Apple, right? It's think different. So Apple was always different from typical PCs. It was think different, the experience, the look, the feel, everything, right? So that's extremely important to pay attention to. And it says, although this is a crucial step towards building a successful brand, many companies fail to pay attention to it and adequately analyze their target audience. Right? So it's understanding your audience. And again, you can go to this site because this is the Crazy Intent Less. I'm not going to go into depth. Right? Loyalty is key. Right? You need loyal customers. You need people who are going to get you, who's going to want you, who's going to want to support you. Know your competitors. Who are you competing up against? I think the biggest mistakes, if you're a comic book creator, you think you're competing with Marvel. You're not. You're competing with Jimmy next door, who's also creating an indie book, right? So, if your enemy entertainment, you're competing with Atomic Comics or Haven. You're competing with the next guy. You're competing with Crazy Comics, right? So you have to understand your audience, your competitors' strengths and weaknesses. Do a SWOT analysis. It works, right? What's the next one? Be consistent. We talk about that all the time on the show, George and I. Consistency is key. You lose credibility when you're not. Brand internally. So the message has to be clear with the team, right? Everyone has to speak the same language. Everybody has to represent the same mission. So it's critical you get that right. And create a striking visual brand identity. And we talked about that, and I showed you some examples of some of the logos, right? Identity is key. How do you know how to find milk when you go into the supermarket, right? So the branding asset, the milk carton has become an asset to milk. It's easily recognizable when you think milk, right? You know Nike with the swoosh. It's important that the assets go hand in hand on a link to the product and people can recognize it, right? So know what it is. Critical mistakes to avoid. This is our not brain. Not getting the logo right. I talked about that. I didn't do that. I failed on with I Create Stories. Missing out on the value proposition. Not adhering to brand guidelines. You're probably asking me, Sam, what is that? Please go into it. I know it's 10 minutes, but come on, let's see. So right, logo uses, color schemes, visuals and imagery, voice and messaging, fonts and typography. All of those things are critical. Is your font easily readable? Right? Your colors, are they too bold, or is there nothing there? You don't want to scare people off, but you want to make it clear in your messaging. Phone's going off, dogs are acting up, it's crazy. Your fonts are just as critical. And George is really good with that stuff. Jumping on trends. They're clout chasers, they're trend chasers, and you see it everywhere. It's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, everybody. That's not sustainable, right? So when you think about Joe Rogan, he created his own path, and he's reaping the benefits of sticking to that. His message was clear. He's the brand. His logo is clear, right? There's so many different examples of successful people that have really nailed it when it came to branding. Forgetting what makes your brand distinct. Right? I recognized quickly that the I Create Stories branding was off, right? But I had a powerful brand with Crazy Comics. And I believe I have a powerful brand with Catch the Craze, and we're going through a whole rebranding phase, and you'll learn a lot about that in episode 200 live on YouTube, where we're going to unveil the entire rebranding and marketing strategy and everything that's coming down the pike. So you don't want to miss that. August 26, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, episode 200. Thinking only locally and not globally. So I've been challenged many times because when I've created anything, I'm always thinking broad range, not within my peripheral, right? So I'm looking from a helicopter perspective, and I'm looking at the horizon, and I'm asking myself, what would this look like 5 years down the road? What would this look like in multimedia, in multiple channels? Do I have something worth my time and investment? Those are questions you need to ask yourself when, look, everybody thinks their stuff is the greatest thing in the world. You need to go to not your friends and family, but to the public. They will tell you if you have something or not, right? Your family's going to love you to death. Your friends are going to be like, yeah, it's cool, right? But the ones that are going to be honest with you are the ones that have no ties to you. So you want to go out there and do some sort of survey and get some people to give you some honest feedback to determine whether or not you should move forward. Because, the worst thing you can do, like I realized, I create stories I launched this year, right? Early on this year. And I realized, I don't like it. I don't like the branding, the messaging. I don't like any of it. I need to change it. It's not working out for me. Valuing consistency over character. Again, your brand should communicate a consistent message to reinforce your value proposition, mission, products, and services, right? Understanding that is really important. Neglecting public perception. We just talked about that. It's important that you understand what the person is receiving when they hear your message, your brand, right? So you need to understand their perception of you and your brand because it's one and the same. Ignoring a crisis instead of owning up. You make a mistake, own it, fix it, move on. No one told me that I made a mistake with I Create Stories. I told myself. You know how I told myself? Because you can't find it. And it doesn't, it's too broad. It's too broad. I need to narrow it down, right? In conclusion, no brand is built overnight, but you can start laying the groundwork of what you want your brand to represent in all the most crucial self-defining aspects of a business right now. So I thought about that because we are currently going through a rebranding stage, and and I think about so many different indies in music, in game, whatever it is, that create these logos or these names for their companies or for themselves that don't reflect what it is they're doing, right? So if you want to be an entertainment company, then you need to understand that you have to represent that. If you're comics, there's got to be something in there, right? So you need to really narrow that scope but broaden its reach. Tough pill to swallow when you're trying to figure out the two, which is why you need to get feedback from others. So while I did say this was going to be under 10 minutes, it's a little bit longer, and I'd like to get into detail, but I will take on this subject with George on one of the episodes. So several things going on. We have episode 200, the launch that's going to be August 26th. Please join us. Second thing is we need to get to that 200 mark with our YouTube subscribers. So we'd love for you, if you enjoy this show, The Craze in 10 or Less, subscribe to our YouTube channel, show some love, and let's engage in the conversation. I'd love to get your feedback, right? The other thing is we're going to be launching some things, and we're going to be asking for some support, and that's it. So subscribe to the show. I'm Sam the Crazy Vera. This is The Craze in 10 or Less. How important is branding to your business? Talk to you soon. Peace.